Welcome to the CouchScouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the CouchScouts podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cooper. With me is my co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing tonight?
And Matt Jackson.
What is going on, guys?
We are here with day 2 of the NFL draft. It is finished. We are going to do some immediate draft coverage to talk all things Dynasty Fantasy Football in relation to day 2. So if you missed it, yesterday we did our immediate reactions to day 1. And that was posted up this morning, and we're doing the same thing again tonight. So we got to get you guys the instant reactions here because, of course, we've done months and months and months of research on this rookie wide receiver class, or not wide receiver class, this rookie class in general, and the landing spots, the draft capital, all that kind of stuff. You know, it's not throwing all of our pre-draft analysis out the window, but it's definitely new information that we need to react to and you need to react to with your rookie draft right around the corner.
And Cooper is foregoing sleep to make sure that it gets done.
Yeah, did you notice I'm stumbling and bumbling over my words a little bit there? Yeah.
I had to pick up you a little bit.
Well, I'm grateful that you did. All right. So I'm going to read the round 2 and the round 3 players that were drafted tonight, just so that the people know. All right. Round 2, pick 34, Jaden Higgins, wide receiver, was Iowa State, now with the Texans. Round 2, pick 36, Quinshawn Judkins, running back out of Ohio State, stays in the state of Ohio, goes to the Cleveland Browns. Round 2, pick 38, Travion Henderson, running back, also Ohio State. He goes to the New England Patriots. Round 2, pick 39, Luther Burden, wide receiver from Missouri, goes to the Chicago Bears. Round 2, pick 40, Tyler Shuck, quarterback from Louisville, goes to the New Orleans Saints. That was a surprise pick for a lot of people. Round 2, pick 42, Mason Taylor, tight end from LSU, goes to the New York Jets. Round 2, pick 46, Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon, goes to the Los Angeles Rams. Round 2, pick 50, another tight end, Elijah Arroyo from Miami, goes to the Seattle Seahawks. Round 2, pick 55, Trey Harris, wide receiver from the Chargers, or now on the Chargers from Ole Miss. And round 2, pick 58, Jack Besh, wide receiver from TCU, goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. Used to be Oakland. And round 2, pick 60, RJ Harvey, running back out of UCF, goes to the Denver Broncos. So I'll hold, and we'll talk about round 3 in a minute, but let's just take a second and react to round 2 here. What surprised you guys the most? I'll throw it to you, Rupert.
To me, Terrence Ferguson going in the second round to the Rams was probably the most shocking pick. To me, he had a great combine. He didn't look as athletic on film, didn't really like his ball skills. To me, like the athleticism didn't quite translate. So he was just a player that, based on film grade, I was pretty much out on. I was going to have 0 shares. And the fact that he went that early to the Rams, to the Sean McVay offense, where they have a Tyler Higbee who's getting up there in age, may have to go back and take another look just to see if there's something we missed. We didn't have a ton of games on him, so but yeah, very shocked with that pick over the likes of Arroyo and some of the other guys that were picked later.
Yeah, I know the NFL loves athleticism, but they pay more attention to the combine, I think, than we do a lot of times. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I did not think Terrence Ferguson was a very good prospect as far as film analysis goes. So I was not expecting him to be a second round pick. I was thinking like maybe fourth round. So that was a surprise for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see how the dynasty community reacts to that, because you got a guy who's a round 2 pick to a pretty good landing spot, and the high RAS guy, the combine relative athletic score. I have a feeling the community is going to be pretty high on Ferguson as far as like is he going to be a second round dynasty rookie pick now? I think he might be.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably going to be pretty out at that cost.
Absolutely.
What stuck out to you, Jackson?
I think one of the more shocking ones to me was Luther Burden getting drafted by the Bears. As we all know, and you two definitely know, I am much higher on Luther Burden than y'all were. So I was hoping for a juicy landing spot. I was hoping for, something like the Titans or the Seahawks even, to land on the Bears, where he's what the maybe the third option, maybe the fourth option on this team. I mean, that room is just so crowded. You've got DJ Moore, you've got Roma Dunze. They just drafted Colston Loveland,
10th overall.
10th overall. Like, I think this is a fine case of like NFL GMs and NFL coaches could care less about your fantasy football roster. Like, if anything, it's absolutely wheels up for Caleb Williams. I mean, they've given Caleb Williams every single thing that he needs to succeed. The offense, Ben Johnson. I just don't know what to do with Luther Burden. Like, maybe he slots in, and this is 100% wishful thinking. Like, I hope he slots in to the Amon-Ra St. Brown role, but I mean, there were so many mouths to feed in that offense that Luther Burden was already, talked about it as not a first round rookie pick or a late first round rookie pick, maybe sliding to the second. He's definitely the second round now. So that's a confusing situation to me.
To me, Burden and DJ Moore are such similar players, very good with yards after catch. May not be the best route runners, but have good ball skills. To me, that maybe signals that they may be moving on for DJ Moore. He has a manageable contract to where they could trade him away and just stick with Rome, Burden, and Loveland, and just roll with the guys that Ben Johnson brought in.
Yeah, and look, I love DJ Moore. I think he's a good player. But, yeah, that young core, Burden, Odunze, Loveland, all like first and second year players, all in their low 20s. Like,
complement each other well.
That's pretty nasty. So, I mean, definitely from a fantasy perspective, it would definitely clear things up a lot if DJ Moore got traded away. We'll see what happens there. But, yeah, like you said, wheels up for Caleb Williams. And they drafted him an offensive lineman too, if I'm not mistaken. So they are all in on making that work for Caleb Williams. Brought him in, arguably the best offensive mind in football, adding all these weapons, beefing up the O-line. Like, man, you love to see that. So, yeah, that was a surprise. That was disappointing from a fantasy dynasty perspective. I'm curious for you, Jackson, because you are the biggest Burden guy amongst the three of us. I mean, not that we disliked him. We had him graded pretty high, ranked pretty high ourselves, but you did have the highest film grade between the three of us, and you've been trying to plant your flag and call him a my guy for months now. Given all the noise that we were hearing before the draft about character concerns, work ethic, all this stuff, now he goes to a less than ideal landing spot. He did fall out of the first round, which we were afraid might happen. All the dust is settled. Where do you think, I know we haven't finalized our rankings yet, but where do you think you're going to be comfortable taking him in rookie drafts?
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question, honestly. With some of the other spots that we got, the Quinshon Judkins spot, the Travion Henderson spot, so some of those other wide receiver spots, and then, there's teams we were talking about before we got on the podcast, teams like, Dallas, teams like the Chiefs that still haven't taken a running back that you could argue might take a running back day 3. There's a chance, and this is without me doing any sort of rankings, that mid-second probably is where he's going to end up slotting in at, which seems pretty reasonable in my head right now.
Okay, so let me ask you this. All right, I'm looking at my own rankings right now, and I had Burden at 10. I am going to put Judkins above him for sure.
Yeah.
Scattaboo, I think, is going to stay below him pending whatever happens in, we'll talk about that in a minute. He did not get picked day 2. That was a disappointment to us, and we're hoping round 4 to a good spot. We'll see. But for now, I would keep Burden above him. Next guy in my rankings, Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart or Luther Burden? Where are we at with that?
Super flex leagues has got to be Dart, right?
Do you agree with that, Rupert?
I think I'd probably go Burden still. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends on it. If I need a quarterback, I'd go Dart. But if I was okay there, I'd probably go Burden still and just hope that situation clears up.
See, this is interesting to me. You guys actually watched Dart's tape a week that I was out of town. I have not watched the tape on Jackson Dart myself. Our film grade is a composite of the two of you guys plus John Fosbury, who's our quarterback guru. And Foz, by the way, has had Dart above Sanders and as his second quarterback the whole way for months now. So, kudos to him for that. With the rushing upside and our film grade on Dart is actually pretty solid. So to me, I feel like I would take Dart. I heard the Dynasty Nerds guys talking about this on one of their recent podcasts, and I thought it was a really good point. If you're picking in the 11th or 12th spot, you are either the champion or the runner-up in your league. And how often in that spot do you have a chance to add a starting quarterback in Superflex to your roster?
Exactly.
Even if you, like you said, Rupert, you feel like you're good at the position. If Dart hits, you can trade him for Burden plus probably, right? So, yeah, I think I'm inclined to take the chance on Dart. If I'm a contender, theoretically, your roster should be filled out. You don't need another piece to get you over the top. You just were there. And now you get a chance to just add value. It's a luxury pick. So take the swing on the quarterback. That's kind of how I'm leaning there. But, and then Matthew Golden. Okay, so Matthew Golden versus Luther Burden. We all had Burden with a higher film grade, but Golden goes round 1. He goes to a landing spot where he's clearly the number 1 target on the team. Which one of those guys are you taking?
So yeah.
I think my film grade is only 2 points difference between the two. I still lean Burden just because I feel like he has more starter upside in my mind. Man.
Yeah, no,
that's real tough.
It gets hard there. It really does.
Yeah.
I think I might tend to agree with Rupert there. I think there I might lean Burden. So maybe it is still back in the first round. Once I'm looking at it,
Okay. Yeah, and then there's a couple of other guys in that range too. Of we had graded similarly with Golden, Jack Besh, who went round 2 to the Raiders. We had Trey Harris in that same range. We had Jalen Noel in that same range, who went 3rd round to the Texans. So all of those guys, I think you could at least have the conversation between them and Dart because they landed in better spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think it's going to be early to mid-second. It's not going to be a first round lock at this point for Burden. But I'm interested to see how day 3 plays out. And I got to go in there, and we haven't started playing around with our rankings. We're talking it out right here live on the show. We're verbally processing what do we think about all this, and you guys are getting to hear it in real time. So other notable things from round 2 here. You mentioned Judkins and Henderson with the landing spots. I love the Judkins spot. Like, he goes up in my ranks a little bit for sure because, I mean, there's nothing there. You could see Jerome Ford maybe taking some third down work because Judkins doesn't excel at that. But in general, we said Judkins is a guy who needs volume for fantasy, and he got it. Plus, with a lot of other running backs falling and not getting the capital that we hope for, he absolutely got it. Like, early second is great draft capital for a running back. So
Swatting right
Judkins,
into that Nick Chubb role.
yeah, Judkins is going to be moving up my rankings for sure. At least to 10. It'll be between him and the tight ends for me. I think I'm going to still have Henderson above him. So that's a conversation we should have. That might be a hot take to some people. Judkins went first. I think most people probably view the Browns as a better landing spot. Consensus might go Judkins above Henderson. I'm still team Henderson. I feel like he's got the better pass catching upside, which translates better to fantasy. I'm not worried about Ramondre Stevenson at all. I think Travion Henderson, the Patriots is a fine landing spot. It's not a, juicy landing spot per se, but that offense probably is going to score more points than the Browns, right? Because
I would argue it is a juicy landing spot now that Mike Vrabel's there.
He loves to run the ball. And the Patriots have a history of feeding running backs that catch passes, James White and, going down through the years, like they love a pass catching running back, which Travion Henderson has in the back. So for me, the film grade,
he does everything that Ramondre Stevenson doesn't do well, right? I mean, the Patriots are committed to building around Drake May. You do that with a pass block, like a running back that can pass block. He's a home run threat. Like, I agree with Rupert. Like, it may not appear to be a juicy spot, but I think it's a great spot for Henderson. And I'm right there with you. I'm taking him above.
Yeah, and Ramondre, I mean, by the end of last year, he was doghoused and being out-touched by, like, Antonio Gibson. So, yeah, they were pretty clearly fed up with Ramondre, and this pick signals they're ready to move on. So I'm not worried about Ramondre at all. And I'm with you guys. I think it's a great spot. I think he's going to get a heavy workload. And I had him about 3 points higher in my film grade than Judkins, so I'm not going to flip that when they went within 2 picks of each other and, both got a good landing spot. So,
yeah, it's not like it's 2 rounds difference. It was 2 picks different.
Yeah, so I'm still going to have Ibuka higher. I'm still going to have Henderson higher. I think it's, anywhere from the 8 to 10 range between Judkins and the tight ends. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have Loveland higher. So really it's going to be probably 9 or 10 for me between Judkins and Warren, I think is where he's going to come down in my rankings, which is a little higher than I had him originally. I had him more in the 12, 13 range, somewhere in there. So, so we're all in agreement there. Henderson over Judkins for us still?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yep. All right. So Tyler Shuck goes to the Saints at pick 40. And at the time, everybody was laughing. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe they took Tyler Shuck over Shedeur Sanders. Well, then a bunch of other quarterbacks went before Shedeur Sanders, too, and he didn't, not drafted on day 2 is feels shocking, which is interesting because we had him graded as like a 3rd round at best talent anyway, based off of the film. So it shouldn't be that shocking, but he just was getting so much 1st round buzz. I don't know if that was just media generated or what the deal is there. Clearly the rumors of bad interviews seem to have held some weight, but I don't think it's just an interviews thing. I don't think the tape was that good either. So NFL teams have told us loud and clear, multiple quarterback needy teams had multiple shots to take him, and we're like, no thanks. So they've told us loud and clear they don't think he's worth the headache. Shedeur Sanders is completely off my board for dynasty purposes. And but here we got Tyler Shuck. So I have not watched film on Tyler Shuck. I don't think you guys have either. We're going to have to do that now because John Fosbury, some of those deeper guys that we didn't think were going to be fantasy relevant anyway, Foz did the profile for us for the rookie guide, and we trust his analysis. And so we kind of ranked him based off of Foz's film grade. But now that he's gone this high in the draft, I feel like we've got to go take a look at the film because Foz had him really low. Like he was down in the 60s in our rankings, like basically off our board. And so if a guy got this kind of draft capital with a landing spot that very clearly needs a quarterback, like it's a competition. If Carr is hurt like they say he is and not going to play, then you're talking about a competition between Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler. So you got a very good chance to get a starting quarterback like right off the bat with Tyler Shuck. And if that's going to be the case, we got to get in there and do our own film analysis. And if we get in there and we hate him just like Foz did, so be it. We'll trust the film. We're not going to reach on somebody just because of the draft capital, but I think he got drafted high enough that it warrants us taking a look. Do y'all agree?
Agreed.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The Saints seem to love drafting the oldest quarterbacks in the class back-to-back years with Rattler and now Shuck.
Yeah, it's gonna be one heck of an ugly quarterback battle. I mean, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that before I've looked at the film on Shuck, but it kind of, from what I've heard, even like I listened to the Dynasty Nerds guys talk about Tyler Shuck on their rookie series, and they weren't overly in love with him either. And I haven't really heard anybody that like loves the guy, so I'm kind of interested to see what I see on the film. All right, one more name we need to talk about for sure from round 2. Actually, a couple more. So there's the tight end runs. We already said we don't like Terrence Ferguson, but we got Mason Taylor who goes pick 42 to the Jets. I mean, that's like early second round, juicy landing spot. He theoretically could be like the second target earner on the team behind Garrett Wilson, which is what you want from a fantasy tight end. Rupert, I know you liked him more than we did. Jackson and I both felt like he doesn't look that athletic. Like he's not a terrible athlete, but he's not a great athlete. The ball skills are pretty good, but the after the catch is just okay. We just didn't see a lot that screamed like huge fantasy upside. Like to me, he looked like a Dalton Schultz type of a player. I think the community is going to fall in love with this guy. He's Jason Taylor's son. You hear the bloodlines thing all the time. He goes early second round. He goes to the Jets with that great landing spot. I think he's probably going to be an early second round pick in dynasty rookie drafts. Are y'all taking him at that price? I'll start with you, Rupert, because you're the highest on us.
I thought he looked athletic. I thought he has a high upside. He just doesn't look like that finished of a product yet.
He's 20 years old, so
yeah. So I think he has a high upside, but to me, there's going to be a lot more safe options there at the early second. So even as much as I like his upside, I'm probably going to be out at that price.
I'm the same way. You look at guys, I mean, that'll be there that early second. You're talking about like Jack Besh, Trey Harris, talking about RJ Harvey. Like we haven't even mentioned Elijah Arroyo yet, who arguably got a better landing spot, I think, in my mind, than Mason Taylor did, right? Like at that price, early second, where he's going to be, like I'm so much more comfortable taking any of those other guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I wasn't high on Mason Taylor to begin with, but yeah, I think the price is going to be out of my rank. Like he'll go up my rankings, but even with going up my rankings, he'll still be way below what his ADP is, and I probably won't end up with any shares. You mentioned Elijah Arroyo. He was my tight end 3. I'm really high on Elijah Arroyo. His athleticism is freakish. The route running upside is absolutely there. Like he flashes it on film. And I think he could be a really, really good fantasy tight end. Second round draft capital is fantastic. I like the Seahawks landing spot. I think Arroyo is going to be somebody that is moving up my boards. I would definitely take him above Taylor. So yeah, Arroyo is a guy that I'm pretty excited about. Jackson, you mentioned Harvey a minute ago as somebody like early second, I think you said.
Early to mid. I mean, it's probably more mid for me than it is early. But
Okay.
like RJ Harvey, like let's dive into it, right? Because
Yeah, we should because we have him just before we get into it. Our pre-draft ranking of him was 30th. So we had a third round ranking on him. If we're saying that we're going to bump him all the way up to the early to mid second, like that's a huge change. To me, that feels a little bit like overreacting, but I want to hear y'all's thoughts on it because obviously we did not expect him to go. We didn't hate the player, but we weren't expecting second round draft capital, and obviously the landing spot is really juicy. So, Jackson, I'll let you start because
yeah,
it sounded like you had some thoughts.
and it still is like it's 100% to me more mid second than it is early second. Like I'm not going to drastically just throw him up close to the first round, but we do have to take into account what we have seen. Right, he gets the second round draft capital. He goes to the Broncos that just got rid of Javonte Williams. Right, they're void. That running back position is wide open. They've got the offensive line. Right, Sean Payton has gone out and he's picked his guy. And when you look at our film grades, like he's still ranked, I think, 72 for us, which is a flex option, right? So you look at all those factors. We didn't hate the player. And so if I'm going to take into a fact that like he's the only one that's going to get touches really in that offense and he's going to get a heavy workload, I think he has the skill to do something with that workload if he gets a pretty consistently heavy workload. I think that warrants at least mid second round consideration in my mind, especially when you look at some of these other running backs who we love, right? I love Dylan Sampson more. I love Cam Scatterbo more. I love Damien Martinez more, but they haven't been drafted yet. They're going day 3. So that you got to take that into account for me. So yeah, I'm moving them up probably pretty close to mid second. Is what I'm thinking right now.
All right, so I'm going to let you chime in a second here, Rupert. One thing to account for, obviously, with Harvey is he's 24 years old. I think he's going to turn 25 in his rookie season, which for a running back, that's a big deal. We do have him at a 72.95, which is a solid, respectable grade. We think he's a player that can contribute for fantasy for sure. We love the landing spot. We love the draft capital. Just looking at our rankings right now, I see a couple people in front of him that he probably will jump. Just based on, like Harold Fannin Jr. Third round is pretty nice. He's sitting behind Njoku. Daniel Jackson, obviously we have ranked a little bit higher, but depending what happens, how far he falls day 3, like that's a guy that could be hopped. Jaden Higgins, we'll talk about in a minute. I would probably bump Harvey above Higgins. So like I can see him getting up to kind of, and Isaiah Bond is up there. So depending on how far Isaiah Bond falls, Devin Neal hasn't been drafted yet. So I'm seeing a handful of players for sure, to your point, Jackson, that I could see Harvey leapfrogging. But for me, guys that I have like, significantly higher in film grade, like I've got 3 points higher on Sampson. I've got, almost 5 points higher on Scatterbo. Like if they go round 4 to a decent spot, there's no chance that I'm moving Harvey above those guys. So there's a few running backs that I'm still, depending round 4, I'm still probably going to have above Harvey. So yeah, I think it's probably more mid to late than early to mid second for me on Harvey. Where do you land with this, Rupert?
I really liked his tape a lot. And you had texted me after our initial rankings. You're like, remember RJ Harvey's 24? I was like, oh yeah, I should probably bump it down because of that. So really like the knock on him was his age, right? He's a lot older
still there.
than a lot of this. Yeah. But yeah, to Jackson's point, like gets a fantastic landing spot. Sean Payton knows how to use this kind of guy. Like to me, this is going to be like his Darren Sproles type of player, where he's going to get the ball in his hands out in space all the time, on sweeps, outside runs. he's just so electric with the ball in his hands. So he may not be like a workhorse running back for them, but to me, he's going to get 10 to 15 touches every single game, lots of catching. So to me, I agree with Jackson. Probably going to be like mid-second, maybe early, just depending on how the rest of the draft shakes out.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see. I mean, obviously my rankings are not final for sure, but I had him at like 30 or 31, and I could see him getting at most probably 10 spots higher than that, which would be 20, which would be like mid-second. So I don't see myself getting up to early second on him personally, but
Agreed. Yeah, I was doing math wrong. It's midnight now. I was thinking 25 was mid-second. That's where my brain's at this point.
Depending on your league size, potentially. All right, so last second round conversation here, and we'll spend a little less time on third round, but Trey Harris, Jack Besh, they both go within a few picks of each other, both to some pretty good landing spots. I think we all prefer the Chargers landing spot over the Raiders landing spot, probably mainly because of Justin Herbert. But we all liked Jack Besh's tape a little bit better than Trey Harris. So between those two guys, who would you take first in a rookie draft? I'll start with you, Jackson.
No, as much as I love Jack Besh's tape, and as much as I think he just fits the Raiders mentality, like to a T, like super physical receiver, like he's a Raider, and I just love that spot. I still feel like it's got to be Trey Harris. Like the way that he complements Lad McConkey's skill set. He's that X receiver to Lad McConkey's slot and underneath work. He's tied to Justin Herbert. They've got a great running game now in Amarion Hampton. Like, it's wheels up for that offense. And he feels like a hardball, tough wide receiver. Like, I feel like they're going to get him involved early. And I see myself pretty consistently taking Trey Harris. As much as I love Jack Besh, like I'm still going to take Trey Harris above him.
Rupert?
I'm winning the same way. I'm still debating live here. But totally agree. Being tied to Justin Herbert's better than Geno Smith in mid-30s. Pete Carroll's going to be running that offense through Ashton Genty over and over and over again. To me, I think like Jack Besh is going to be like a really great NFL wide receiver for them. Physical run blocking for Genty down the field, picking up tough first downs, but probably not going to be a high-end fantasy starter in that offense.
So for me, I'll be the outlier here, and I think I was the lowest on Trey Harris of our group. I've got his film grade at a 71.18. I think y'all were closer to like the 73 range on him. I've got Besh all the way up at a 74. So I've got a 3-point difference on them in film grade. In my pre-draft rankings, I had Trey Harris down at 30, and I had Besh all the way up at 21. So that gap is probably like, it's going to get closer. It's going to be a smaller gap for sure. Trey Harris is going to move up in my rankings because I love the capital. I love the landing spot. But I think when all is said and done, I'm still going to have Jack Besh higher. So I just think he's a better player, and that matters to me. So he's also got a chance. Obviously, Bowers is there and is going to be the number one target earner, but Besh can be the number one wide receiver. Whereas I don't think that that's ever going to happen for Harris because he's playing with Lad.
You're not a Jacoby Myers fan, Cooper?
Dude, I went to NC State. Of course I'm a Jacoby Myers fan. But he's not an alpha wide receiver. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just higher on Besh. I think he's a better player. So I'm going to stick with my film grade there a little bit on that one. All right, let's go to round 3, and we're already at 34 minutes, so we'll be relatively quick here. Harold Fannin, we talked about. He's a good player. We all liked him. He got good draft capital. He's going to have to wait his turn with the Browns. I think he's a player that you can probably get in round 3 of your rookie drafts, and I like him as a 3rd round target. Y'all agree with that assessment?
Yeah,
Agreed.
for sure.
Okay. Kyle Williams goes to the Patriots. That's interesting
Love
because they don't have anything really as far as pass catching weapons.
You shut your mouth. They have Javon Baker.
if he can ever climb his way out of the doghouse, all right, which seems pretty unlikely at this point. But yeah, none of us liked Polk last year. He showed nothing as a rookie. They spent a 2nd round pick on him. It just looks like a wasted pick at this point. Kyle Williams seems like he's the best wide receiver on the Patriots roster as of today. We all liked his tape, didn't love it. There's issues with hands and body catching, and he's not the biggest guy in the world and all this kind of stuff, but he's really athletic. He runs nice routes. He's good after the catch. Like, there's definitely a path to fantasy upside here. And, the draft capital's good. Drake May seems like, he's pretty locked in as a franchise quarterback there. I like the spot. I like the draft capital. I think he's going to be moving up my rankings. The question is how high. So, do you think he would get into the 2nd round of rookie rankings for you guys? 12-team league, top 24.
I have a hard time putting him in round 2, and that's just I haven't looked firmly at my rankings yet, but top 24 seems a little pricey for me.
Yep. So I'm looking at where I have him right now. I'm going to bump him for sure above Brashard Smith and above Pat Bryant. Although Pat Bryant is an interesting conversation too, because I actually really liked his tape, and I love he went higher than I thought he was going to go. I like the spot that he landed in with the Broncos, but I think Kyle Williams is going to go above him. He is. I mean, I'm literally changing my rankings like live on the show here. So Kyle Williams. Let's talk about Jaden Higgins. We didn't talk about Jaden Higgins. And I'm looking at these two, and I'm going, okay, who would I rank higher? So Jaden Higgins went at the very beginning of the 2nd round, like way higher than we expected him to go. He goes to the Texans, and they definitely have a need at wide receiver. But he's also a big X receiver, and Nico Collins is that, right? So, like, what is...
He's a great Nico Collins prototype. The problem is they have Nico Collins.
He's what you hope. Yeah, like Nico is what you hope Higgins will be. So and then they take Noel, his Iowa State teammate, later in the round, or later in day 2 rather, and
they have Christian Kirk, who I
like Christian Kirk. Yeah, I know. This is so they got their future Christian Kirk and their future Nico Collins, I guess, but it doesn't feel like Nico's going anywhere anytime soon. So, like, I was not overly in love with Jaden Higgins' tape. I don't love the landing spot for him. The draft capital is so high that he's probably going to get boosted in his dynasty ADP higher than I'm going to want to take him. But for me, like, I think I would take Kyle Williams above Jaden Higgins. Is that crazy?
No, I would take Kyle Williams above him too. I think the interesting conversation is I would honestly take Noel above Jaden Higgins, who we like better anyway. And you look at, Christian Kirk, who I think's on a 1-year deal, right? Like, I don't know. Jalen Noel slots in better that offense than Jaden Higgins does, and he was a later round pick. So I prefer him, as I said in our Discord, I prefer him to Jaden Higgins pretty much all day.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. So another player that went in the 3rd round that I'm looking at right here in these rankings, who do I put first? Caleb Johnson, who goes to the Steelers, or Kyle Williams, who went to the Patriots?
Caleb Johnson is a great Najee Harris. So I'm glad that they just got rid of Najee Harris to draft another Najee Harris.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Williams still.
I feel like I'm taking Caleb there.
I'm taking Caleb there, I think.
Like, I don't like him compared to a lot of the other running backs in this class, but I'll take – I mean, I still had like a 73 grade on Caleb. It's not like I hated his tape. I just thought he was overrated relative to the rest of this running back class. But he gets good capital. He lands in a good spot. He's going to get the volume he needs. I think I'm going to take him over like a wide receiver 3 flex type. So that's kind of where I'm at. I would take Caleb over Kyle Williams. So I think pending, we'll see what happens with some of these running backs that haven't been drafted yet. Etienne, Sampson, Martinez, Tootin. Depending how far some of those guys fall, I could see Kyle Williams getting up to the second round, like the end of the second round for me. But right now I've got him more as an early third. But we'll see what happens with some of those running backs. All right. Pat Bryant, he goes to the Broncos in round 3. That was a surprise, right? I mean, I definitely thought he was a day 3 guy, but Rupert,
go ahead. I would just say we just got done talking about the fact that, looking at who was it? Jaden Higgins' film. He's a prototype of what's his name?
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, yes. You look at Pat Bryant, he's a prototype of Cortland Sutton, is he not?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I think he could be in that mold, but definitely a big bodied X. I'm interested though. Pat Bryant to me, like really high end ceiling comp, Michael Thomas, and he goes to this Sean Payton offense, and I don't know, like he's a really savvy route runner. He's so physical, like he gets more after the catch than you think he should because he just like mauls people with stiff arms and runs people over. He's got great ball skills. Like I really liked Pat Bryant in every category except for his athleticism. He's not athletic, but he's a really good wide receiver. I'm very intrigued. I'll say that. I'm intrigued. I think he's going to be a guy that I find myself throwing darts on in the 3rd round of rookie drafts. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah. Like Sean Payton knows how to scheme unathletic wide receivers open. Marquise Colston's a great example.
Yeah, that's probably a lot more realistic than Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
But so I said it was high end. All right, I said it was high end.
Yeah, so I agree. I really like the landing spot. Behind Cortland Sutton, they don't have too much. They got Marvin Mims as a field stretcher. Who knows how long Cortland Sutton's going to be there? So, really like the landing spot. A coach that knows how to use him, scheme him open. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to be taking quite a good amount of flyers on him.
Okay. All right. So we got just a couple more guys to talk about here. Jalen Noel, we kind of hit on when we were talking about Jaden Higgins. I still really like Noel. It's not a it's a little bit of a murky wide receiver depth chart right now, but I think he's more talented than Christian Kirk. I think the community is finally going to come down from their ridiculous expectations for Jalen Noel. Because they're not going to love the landing spot and they're not going to love that he fell to 3rd round. Everybody for months has been saying he's locked in top 50. And, obviously he went pick 79, so not too terribly far off of that. But I think the community is going to cool on Jalen Noel. I like the upside there. I think he's a ready-made deep threat in the NFL with upside for more. He needs to refine his route running a little bit. I think the dynasty community in general was seeing some of the flashes of like his best moments and projecting that he's like that all the time. And, comparing him to guys like Ladd McConkey that are consistently down in and down out, like dominating, winning their routes. That's not Jalen Noel. His stuff's a little bit more rounded. He's not that kind of a technician, but he has the moments where he shows that he can do it sometimes. So I like Jalen Noel. And, I had him mid-second round. He's probably still going to be mid to late second round for me. And he might even fall to a 3rd round rookie ADP, which would be interesting. I would end up with a lot of shares if that were to be the case. So a couple other guys on here. I'll just make very quick notes because we're over time. We're about to wrap up the show here. Isaac Tesla. We haven't watched the tape. He wasn't in volume 2
I
of the
have.
rookie guide. Rupert watched a little bit live during the draft, got in the film room, watched a little bit of tape. So we will have a guide profile coming on him. I don't expect him to be a guy that we're super interested in drafting, especially he goes to the Lions. He's pretty buried on that depth chart. You got anything you want to add there, Rupert?
Yeah, a big slot player. I didn't see him really do anything on the outside. Didn't see him fight off press. Going against very small nickel corners. He has good build-up speed. He's, I would say, efficient in and out of his breaks, but definitely you would not call him explosive or dynamic to where he can create separation at the sim of his route, always at the NFL level. So that combined with his production profile, I'm just probably not going to touch him when other people draft him.
Yeah, non-existent production profile. Obviously, the Lions, there's no path to touches. Probably was drafted for special teams, if I had to guess. Combine darling. We're gonna put a profile out on our guide for Volume 3 when we release our post draft. But I would not worry too much about him for dynasty purposes. Savion Williams, I feel the same way. I don't know why he went round 3. I don't think he has what it takes. Yeah, special teams. Like, I don't think he has what it takes to play wide receiver in the NFL. And that wide receiver room is beyond murky. Like, where would he slot in amongst the 6 or 7 guys that they have there? The answer is nowhere. So don't worry about Savion Williams too much for dynasty. I know he went 3rd round. We don't need to overreact to that. Ty Felton, interesting player, a guy that we liked. We liked the upside. There were some weaknesses that are going to hold him back. He goes round 3, but he goes to the Vikings, and I just don't see the path there. It's like he's the 3rd wide receiver, and they've got a really good tight end. So he's kind of buried.
Just a field stretcher.
Like 4th round at the earliest for dynasty, I think, for me.
I agree with that.
He's not off my board, but yeah. And then the 2 quarterbacks, Jalen Milroe and Dylan Gabriel. I've got to give a shout out to John Fosbury. Not only did he have Jackson Dart as his QB2 above Sanders, I challenge you to name another analyst that had Dylan Gabriel also graded higher than Shedeur Sanders.
By a wide margin.
Was it a wide margin? I don't remember.
I think it was pretty.
It was a pretty.
I think it was like at least 5 points.
Okay, so yeah, it was 2 points, but
okay.
He had a higher film grade on Dylan Gabriel. Now, obviously, Dylan Gabriel's really limited physically. Short, not mobile. He goes here in the 3rd round. He does go to a pretty good landing spot here with the Browns. Like, there's going to be a quarterback battle there, and he is going to be part of that battle. He's going to have a chance to start, which is crazy to say. Dylan Gabriel could start. Foz wasn't overly bullish on him. I think his ranking had more to do with Shedeur not being good than him being like in love with Dylan Gabriel. But it's intriguing, at least. Like, he was already on our radar in the 4th round, and I think he will continue to be. So I think he's a player that late in your rookie draft is going to be worth throwing a dart on. And Jalen Milroe, obviously, with the rushing upside, you can't ignore him. But I don't think he's a very good player. If he went early 2nd round, the team would have been invested enough that I would have been more interested in taking a chance. But like late 3rd, I think the team's like, if he works out, great. And if he doesn't, no skin off my back. Kind of like I think this is the range that Hendon Hooker was drafted in a few years ago with the Lions.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the range where you're going, yeah, we want to give this guy a shot at some point. It's like, we're going to draft him as a backup, and if he ever ends up actually being good enough to start for us, we're going to consider it a pleasant surprise. And I don't think Jalen Milroe is good enough to earn that opportunity ever at any point in his career. So another one, he's on my board. Where would you feel comfortable taking Shedeur Sanders, or not Shedeur Sanders? Jalen.
I'm not drafting Shedeur Sanders.
I'm not either. Where would you feel comfortable taking Jalen Milroe? Because our boy Landon in the Discord says he would still take him in the first round of a rookie draft, and I think that's nuts. So I'm just on air. No offense. Love you, Landon. You're crazy. You know that. First round is crazy. So where would you take him? Because it's not first round, and I don't think it's second round either. Where would you take him in a rookie draft?
I don't think it's third round either.
Yeah, I'd say probably fourth round. Gabriel, like to me, Gabriel doesn't have the upside, but he has a chance to actually start this year. Where Milroe will just be like thrown in there with like a wildcat kind of package, where he's going to hand it off to Kenneth Walker or try and take it to the house himself.
See, I had Milroe at 38 in my pre-draft rankings, and I had Gabriel at 46. So I already was a little higher on Milroe just because of the rushing upside there. I feel like he might go up a little bit for me. Like he might sneak into that late third round, because right now I've got him at 38, which is just outside of round 3. But, some of the guys a lot of the guys in front of him haven't been drafted yet. Restrepo, Taj Brooks, Woody Marks, Brashard Smith. Like there's a bunch of guys in front of Milroe right now that are still sitting out there without an NFL team. So I could see him going up into the third round for me. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers a lot of the fantasy relevant players here. Some of the ones we're not going to do necessarily a day 3 reaction show like we have done day 1 and day 2. Now I'm kind of feeling like maybe we should, because there's so many big names still out there. We are going to do a post NFL draft rookie mock on the channel that's going to go up tomorrow. And so you'll get a little bit of the day 3 reaction there. But yeah, some of the guys that have not been drafted yet that are definitely, going to be factors, we think, in Dynasty rookie drafts: Cam Scadavoo, Dylan Sampson, Bashal Tutin, Jalen Royals, Damian Martinez. Obviously, there are some guys that the rest of the community loves that we're not the highest on. Alec Ayamanor, I think most people expected to be day 2. He hasn't been taken. I mentioned Brashard Smith. There's DJ Giddens. There's a bunch of these guys that, like Torrey Horton, pending landing spot, could be interesting for Dynasty, but haven't been taken yet. So lots still to shake out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We went a little bit long, but there's a lot to talk about when you talk about, how many picks was it? It was like 90 picks got made tonight or something. So because the third round, it's not just 32. You got all the compensatory picks and whatever. Yep. So the third round is long. So lots to discuss tonight. Hopefully it was helpful to you guys as we kind of talked it out live here on the show. And we will be back tomorrow, at least me and our boy Jake Thomason. I think you guys both have other commitments and won't be on the show, but me and Jake will be on here facilitating a little bit of a mock draft tomorrow after day 3. So look forward to that, and we'll see you guys soon.